Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George and Travis and I just got back from watching Bats, Man, the Bats, Man, Bat, Man. Hey, the Batman is out, and it's our first theatrical discussion, and the theme song just happens to follow the Dan rule for how you make a Batman theme song.
Enter eye roll here.
Hey, once Troy confirmed that people do that,
Listen.
that's 2 points of confirmation.
I don't know if Troy so much confirmed it as tolerated
and
you.
Made fun of you.
Yeah. Because he entertained it. I don't know if he endorsed it.
Hi, this is Dan in Post. Let's go to the tape on that. The other thing I keep telling the guys, and it drives them crazy, and I think our audience likes it, is that the way that you write a John Carpenter theme song is you just say the name of the movie on a keyboard.
Oh, God.
So, Halloween, 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 Halloween. Thing.
Jaws.
Well,
the thing.
Jaws.
He didn't do the thing, but yeah, the music anyway. But that's what James Bernard did. The composer did a lot of the Hammer movies, and Carpenter's a big fan, so that makes sense.
Hold on, guys. Did Troy just agree with my insane theory about...
You got him with one of them.
Yeah. Did you disagree with my insane theory?
So yeah, in the Killing episode, Troy's on board with the theme song thing. Anyway, guys, earliest Dan in Post ever. Shame on you. Back to the show.
I don't know if this works in their theory because the theme is in this movie is either a eerie version of Ave Maria or an instrumental version of Something in the Way, and then this little drum thing that you're trying to drum up.
Man,
Who did that version of Something in the Way?
It's Nirvana.
Is that the real, that's the actual? It
Yeah.
sounded different to me for some reason.
They slowed it. It's almost like an acoustic.
Yeah.
But then it hits instrumental too. I don't know. It's eerie.
I don't
they
know.
used it in the trailer.
Yeah, whatever they did to the song to make it fit the movie was good.
Yeah. Should we say spoiler alerts? Because we're not going to...
We're not going to hold back. We are going to discuss the hell out of the Batman, which, if you haven't seen it streaming yet, don't wait. Go to the theater, pause this show, go to the theater, watch the Batman, and then come back and listen to our show.
It's worth it to go to the theater. It's a good experience.
And it'll be on streaming in like 2 weeks. So, if you got to wait, I understand.
Word.
Now, unlike a lot of our more in-depth discussions with George, where Travis and I have spent the better part of 2 or 3 decades thinking about the inner workings and deeper meanings of these movies, I've seen the Batman once, and it was a couple of weeks ago. So we may have to revisit this discussion in a few years. But for now, let's get George thrown into the fire and see how he did. First of all, George, movie theaters. It's like watching at home, but a lot louder. And you can buy popcorn.
Yeah, and with strangers.
And the floors are all sticky and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody chews like they've never eaten before.
Yep.
Love that.
It's pretty great.
Are you a theater goer? Like, is this did you go and you're like, oh, I haven't been to a theater in a while. I sure love the movies. Or were you like, ugh, this is like watching at home, but like with strangers?
No, obviously I've been to the movies before.
I mean, nothing's assumed on this show, man.
Well,
but
before this show, you've only seen 3 movies, so.
No. But, yeah, when we were talking about going, we were like trying to figure out our schedules and when are we going to do it and, blah, 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 blah. My wife goes, she pulls out like a couple of gift cards for the movie theater. And I was like, oh, cool. We can use those. They've been in like
pre-COVID.
Seriously, they've been in the gift card bin for like, I don't know, 4 years. We never go to the movies. And Travis is like, oh, I'll pay for your ticket with the gift card. But I was like, dude, just pay for the tickets.
Because we're never going to use them.
They've been there for like years. Just use the gift cards, please. But no, it's been a minute since I was in the theater. I think I couldn't even tell you what the last thing I watched in the theater was.
Well, now you can.
I mean, before this.
God.
And Travis, I know you went to see Spider-Man, but I assume you had a pretty lengthy layoff there before Spider-Man.
Yeah, we saw. I think we probably have seen about 4 movies, maybe 5 in the theater since the world
Changed.
I guess. Yeah, I got teenage boys who want to go in the theater, so they want that experience. But I did enjoy the whole coming, like when Black Widow came out and we watched it in the house. I didn't have to go and do that in the theater, so that was fun.
Yeah, there's certain movies that it's really just fine to watch them at home, but The Batman is really not one of them. If you have a chance to see it in the theater with full audio and IMAX visuals and all these things, probably worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I've been watching a lot of interviews with Matt Reeves, and when he talks about his process, you can see it's almost like when you tell us about the 4K, and we're like, yeah, we just watched it on DVD, and I didn't really notice all that. But you get to see a lot of the goodness on the screen that you're not going to see maybe on your laptop.
Sounds like much like my theme song suggestions, that you're just requiring additional verification from more well-placed sources as to the importance of 4K to your enjoyment. Guys, save your money, get a 4K TV. It's worth it.
Word.
Hey, so
Once I
George,
get my theater room.
let's talk about this movie you just watched. Now, it's lengthy. Coming, I think if they put the deleted scene back in, it would be 3 hours long, which is the longest movie we've watched so far.
Is it really?
I believe so.
We didn't sit and watch Titanic yet.
We watched The Godfather, though.
Godfather was about 240, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
This might be the longest.
It didn't feel that.
No,
No.
it flies, man.
And I saw it twice. So I actually...
So for you, the movie was 6 hours.
Right. But I did kind of, on the second time around, I did kind of feel the length more.
Yeah, that's what she said.
But that's because... but that's because the first time I watched it, it was long, but I didn't want it to end. So it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, I don't care if this is 5 hours long, I'm watching it. And watching it the second time, I knew everything that was going to happen. So I kind of watched it with a different eye. So I was like, okay, this could have been shorter. This scene could have been gone. This scene could have been a little shorter. But really, honestly, I was just doing that to make room for the deleted scene. I was like, okay, if they would have removed these 3 things, they could have put this back in the movie. But I understand why it's not in there. It's a good end credit scene that happens in the middle of the movie, so you can't really make it an end credit scene because timeline-wise, it happens inside the story. So you can't really have it as your end credit.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. It's as unnecessary as an end credit scene, but yet chronologically it had to happen in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because, yeah. But it should have been, I like the way they did it. It's something that everybody should have seen, but you couldn't put it at the end of the credits, so just release it 2 weeks later and be done with it.
And George, you haven't watched that yet as far as I know, right?
I have very little idea what you're talking about.
Okay, good. So we'll talk about that later in this show. We'll have you watch it and give your immediate reaction.
Yeah, the only
after
thing I
we've
know
talked
is
about
that
the movie a bit.
it involves the Riddler's friend.
Yeah,
right?
the interesting not discussed ahead of time. Guys, we said spoilers, right? The thing
Yes,
not
we did.
discussed ahead of time and played very coy in the theatrical cut of the movie as to like how little of this character they would show versus the actual deleted scene, which shows a lot more. Kind of an interesting. I don't know that I'll pass final judgment on how they treated this character that we haven't named yet, because I want to see how the next one goes,
Right.
and how he's treated in that material. Because Travis says he thinks he knows why it's not in the movie, and I have some wonderings as to why it's not in the movie.
It's completely obvious.
It's
why
going to
not
be
in
a
the movie.
fun conversation when we get to it.
Yeah, so Sunday,
I've watched
Sunday,
it about 18
Sunday,
times,
as we
so.
hype up the discussion to come. But before we get to that discussion,
Yes.
now, full disclosure for our audience, we're recording The Batman after we've already seen a couple of other movies. So we will release those episodes to come. But full disclosure, George has now seen the movies Seven and Saw.
Yes.
So, George, having now seen a bunch of movies and watching this movie, do you see why Seven and Saw were so, like, relevant to what we were doing with the Batman?
We probably should have watched Zodiac as well.
And we still can.
Yeah, I do.
7 definitely. I mean, this is... I remember having a conversation when 7 came out, and I believe one of us in our pre-podcast 25 years ago mentioned that this would be a good Batman movie. 7.
Yeah.
But obviously we didn't sit there like, oh, and the Riddler could be John Doe, and like we didn't get into the whole the you know, in the notebooks and like all the stuff that's in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, when you watch the Batman, you sit there and you're like, it's 7 with Batman.
Yes.
So
the Riddler is preaching.
Yes.
Yes.
And
100%.
he has the mission. He has it all planned out.
He's got all those
certain
notebooks.
things have to happen.
Lots of notebooks. But at the same time, in the introduction to the Riddler character, he's essentially Michael Myers. The way that he like stalks that first dude, and then he attacks him.
Buffalo Bill.
Like, yeah. Oh man.
It was very Giallo esque. Very
Dude.
Rear Window.
I'm in the the theater for like 2 minutes, and I see a motorcycle helmet, and I'm like, Giallo.
Yeah, he said he goes Giallo.
So good. You know, and years ago when they first hired Matt Reeves, and you know nobody knew what this movie was going to be, I made this extended post on the Books of Faces. And I said, guys, here's how I would redesign the Batman movies. And I said I would make it as if it was like crossed with an Argento movie, and I do, you know, black on red. And then this movie trailer comes out, and I'm just like, holy shit, I think they're doing my movie. Now, I would have done it a little bit different, but in general, in a lot of ways, this is the movie I've been waiting for forever.
Yeah.
So that was pretty sweet.
Now, did you get the Myers? I was going to lean over. I was trying to see out of the corner of my eye if you smirked when the DA gets in his car and he does the fog wipe off of the windshield. And then the Riddler sits up in the back seat. It was like the Annie kill.
It was the
from
Annie kill.
Halloween.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All the way down to her falling on the horn.
Oh
like,
my god!
I was like,
no,
holy crap! This is a total frame by frame remake of the Halloween Annie kill. He even like wipes the fog off the windshield. As soon as I saw that, I was like, and then that's when you see the shadow in the background pop up. I'm like, holy crap! If he does a left arm, blade slash. Yeah, there's a lot of homages. And that whole scene in the beginning when he's in the room.
That part is so scary.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like the scene where in Halloween, you know, you're looking at the car and George didn't even see Michael standing there. The way that they
out the school window.
Yeah, they like fade him in at one point to where he comes out of the shadow, kind of like later in the movie when the pin light opens up and you see his face in the hallway. But it was like this mix of like the framing of the first scene, but the pin light of the later scene, and then wham, he's suddenly like the Rob Zombie Mike Myers, just beating the holy hell out of that guy. Guys.
But they perfectly did it because he's obviously kind of a weenie.
Mm-hmm.
He's not Michael Myers.
No.
So they show him have the rage and the capability of bludgeoning, but he's clumsy. Like I love the whole, they made him like look like a newborn deer, kind of falling all over himself. He wasn't very organized physically.
He looked desperate.
Yeah.
You know, which is something that's hard to get across in that much costume, you know, between the mask and the saran wrap and all this in the hood, almost like the Prowler. You remember that movie from the 80s? He kind of looks like a mix of the Prowler and a saran wrap commercial.
It definitely had an 80s feel, this movie. 80s slasher film. It definitely. The whole time I'm sitting there going, that Dan's gonna like totally love this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mince words. It's probably the best Batman on film.
Yes.
which is hard for me to say because I still love the 89 Batman so much. And you guys have had to hear me talk about the Dark Knight trilogy with Nolan over the past few months, and obviously there's no ancient history being played out here, so it's not quite what the Dark
That's
Knight
a controversial
was,
statement because there's a lot of people that say this is not Batman, but they don't. A lot of them. What was the one quote I saw? How do you announce that you're not a Batman fan? But to say that this is not a like they're forgetting the idea that this is year 2 Batman. This is not veteran Batman. This isn't, the Michael Keaton Batman. This isn't Dark Knight Rises Batman. This is Christian Bale, Bruce, right before he decides to shoot Chill and doesn't shoot him when Rachel hits him in the head and takes him down to the Narrows and shows him like that's the desperation this Bruce is in this movie. He's not the playboy. He's not the showy, make sure everybody sees me so they don't think I'm Batman. They see me being flamboyant and throwing money and doing stupid playboy things. Like this Bruce in this movie is dark and at the end of his rope. It's something that they touched on in Nolan, but he didn't make the whole movie that.
Okay. In comparison to other Batmans that exist, Batman movies or universes or whatever, after watching this movie, it made me appreciate what a big risk it was for Nolan to start with Begins.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because when you come into this movie, he's already Batman.
Yep.
And you don't know how or why or whatever. There was so much story that Nolan took the time to tell that this movie did not. And not that it's a knock on this movie, it's just it's already been told by Nolan. Why would you just do it again? But I think Nolan had a lot of balls to start there.
Yeah, he doesn't even put the cowl on until like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, in. I always wondered, how Batman went from, or Bruce Wayne went from being a kid who watched his parents get killed to a badass martial artist, And in Begins, Nolan took the time to show you how Bruce Wayne, kind of, rejected all of his, his riches and his whatever, and spent time in prison, spent time overseas, studied martial arts. Ra's al Ghul took him and made him more than a man. He taught him how to become fear and how to master his fear, and he becomes more than a man in the way that like a ninja is more than just a regular man. You know what I mean? And that just was missing from this movie, and I understand that you just can't always start there again. But I was thinking about it the whole time, like, I want to know what kind of training he has. And then also the way Nolan handled all of Batman's gadgets and how he, invented these things, and how like it all tied into the Wayne Corporation, and it just like the Nolan universe was so complete.
Well,
it makes
made
just
a
watching it made just watching a Batman movie kind of feel like
you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the Nolan trilogy was like this complete thing that just still blows my mind. And that's what I compare this movie to.
Right.
Because the Nolan Batman is my favorite Batman. Period. End of story. The Batman had its own attributes that I liked. I really, really liked how dark it was, and how hopeless it looked. After they find out, after the Maroney thing went down, and it was what they thought to be a huge victory. But
all it did was open things up for Falcone.
The city is so corrupt that when it was clear that Maroni was going down, everyone just shifted positions, and business as usual. It's like that's how corrupt this city is.
Yeah, I love that line where they're asking that cop who's like hostage on the roof, and they're like, "Do you what does he say? Falcone works for you?" And he's like, "No, we work for Falcone." It's like, it doesn't matter whether you're a mayor, a cop.
Yeah,
we work for the mafia, so deal with it.
It's so disheartening. It's so
absolutely.
After all that,
because they're all, and that's what makes Gordon so quintessential. Because he's like, he keeps saying, "You're a good cop. I trust you." And how many cops were chasing him through that building?
Yeah,
100, and they're all. You can't trust any of them. Obviously, towards the end, you can, but you don't know who's getting paid off. And they kind of established that in the Nolan movie too, because it's,
sure.
We know who your family is. Like they definitely. I love the mafia undertones or overtones, but I also love the fact that they're showing that the supervillains are just waiting for those voids to open up so they can fill them.
Yeah,
like the Penguin. We could do a whole hour.
Oh my God!
On Colin Farrell, who freaking
now,
killed
George,
it. And
have you ever seen Colin Farrell in any roles? Do you know that name as an actor?
Yes, I have.
And
Yes,
can
I
you
have.
see him at all in the role of the Penguin? Because I tried real hard, man, and he's gone. He has Joker. He is Heath Ledger Joker, or Marlon Brando as the Godfather. He's gone in that role. He is just the Penguin.
I liked him more in The Riddler.
I mean, he did a really good job. I wouldn't say it's on par with.
I'm just saying, as
the
as
other
an
the
actor,
other two examples you gave,
as an actor who we have seen for 20 years, almost overexposed, right, in too many movies at times.
Yeah,
for him to come out and perform like this, to where I can't see him in the character at all. He's gone. He has disappeared.
Do yourself a favor.
I could see him.
Look up Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
I've seen
Oh
that.
my God,
Okay,
Bullseye.
Colin Farrell plays Bullseye in that movie. He's the guy with the target on his forehead. He's the main villain, other than Kingpin, and he's so campy, so not good, and just bad direction. He's like a Nicolas Cage type character when he's not corralled. Like he just kind of goes and he does. He's like the Joker.
Okay.
And he does things and he just does it. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to his character. There's no sometimes you just feel like he's reading the words in his Irish accent, and he's just Colin Farrell. But that's why I was scared about when I heard he was playing the Penguin. I'm like, oh my God, what's he gonna do with this part? But I literally was I would have watched, and I just heard he's gonna get his own show. They're gonna stream a TV show on HBO for him, and he deserves it, because that character, they can do so much with him, trying to take over the mafia, take over Falcone's guys and all that stuff. Like I'm on board. I will watch it. And his accent.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures, like side by sides, of like what Colin Farrell actually looks like versus how he looked as the Penguin. And it's a transformation, man.
But even his behavior.
Oh yeah.
Like he kept getting that pucker face that he was doing that kind of made him look more bird-like. He didn't have the long nose and all that stuff, but they just did enough scars on his face where he was a little taller than he probably should have been. But I think over time they might have him get a little more hunched over.
Well, his
But
little
I just
waddle
loved-
walk when Gordon and Batman leave him behind, he's just like, what the hell? Waddle,
Yeah.
waddle, waddle.
He kind of it's almost like he channeled like a Tony Soprano type character.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it was enough Bayonne, Brooklyn, New York kind of feel where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm on board. Because I mean, you got John Turturro playing Falcone, and we all know what he can do. He eats up the screen, and I think he held his own with him. I think they all did.
Yeah, I can't think of a weak character. I know everybody was excited for Paul Dano. I say everybody. I think was it Travis? You're a big fan of him from other stuff, right?
I like him from other things, yeah.
So people have been telling me, you've been telling me, oh, Paul Dano, he's gonna be great, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. So I came in kind of blank slate, but yeah, I thought he, admirable performance, great transformation, kind of arc for him as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
Hard to think of a weak character in this movie.
Which character was Paul Dano?
He was the Riddler. I think he suffered at one thing. I could tell. I could be wrong, but I feel like he was either directed and or his own personal choices. He was trying so hard to not be compared to Ledger that it seemed like he might have held back a few times or took different choices to. I mean, he is the Riddler. He's not the Joker. Yeah. But he was kind of playing like he was trying to play wacky without being Jim Carrey wacky and without being where Ledger took it. He was trying to make his own with it. And like you said, there's like a transition there when he takes that mask off. He's totally different, but like that whole like almost like banker look that he had. I love that. But I love how they made him so menacing with like a auto-tuned voice and all that stuff in the videos.
Mm-hmm.
But then they show the video they unlock at the end without all that, and he's just a weenie in a leather mask. It's not like, hi guys, like he's like talking to them. It's like
it's
a
so
like closed circuit.
Be sure to like and subscribe. And this video is brought to you by Squarespace. Make sure you get Squarespace to do whatever Squarespace does.
I thought it was NordVPN.
Yeah, exactly. So just
he definitely had a VPN.
But the scene, it was great.
The scene in the Arkham, which was like his big scene.
Oh my God, that scene!
Holy crap! That I love that, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's making choices, and I'm on board. I'm happy.
No, we need to talk about this because and listeners, for real, if you have not seen the movie, stop here. Stop. Just stop right here. Come back after you've seen the movie. Okay, now that all those people are gone. No, you, I see you. You were still listening and you haven't seen the movie. Stop the podcast. Come back. I don't want to ruin this part for you.
If you have not seen the movie,
when he starts doing his Bruce Wayne calls. Okay, you remember at the end of 7 when we had our big discussion as to whether or not John Doe knows that Morgan Freeman knows. And you guys are like, oh, he has to know because he looks at him and says, oh, he didn't know. Right? When I'm watching that again a couple of weeks ago, I'd already seen the Batman, and I just kept thinking, oh my God, you guys are falling for his Bruce Wayne, not realizing that he's talking to Bruce Wayne, right? He doesn't have to know that's Bruce Wayne for that scene to work because it turns out he thinks Batman's his ally and they just missed the big fish. Guys, whoa.
Yeah, I hear you.
Such a good twist. Such a good twist. I mean, it just... The look on Batman's face when he's just like,
Pattinson.
oh God. Dude.
Fucking Pattinson blew me away. That scene when he's just like...
he acts through the mask like I've never seen a Batman act. He is... You know all those pictures in the old, like... I guess like 70s era, if I'm thinking about... Like, who's the guy that used to write with... Or draw with Denny Allen a lot? Or Denny O'Neil.
Neil Adams?
Neil Adams.
Neil Adams?
So Neil Adams Batman making that like hopeless, wide-eyed, like face you'd see now and then. I've never seen that in a movie before. I just never imagined you could make a person's face with so little face available emote through that. And Pattinson, scene after scene, he's a human being, not a RoboCop. I was just blown away by that man.
Well, when I was watching that Matt Reeves interview, he talks about Matt Reeves talks about Pattinson's approach to the character, And he said the very first scene he filmed in costume was the dead mayor's crime scene. So he said when you watch that scene, you can see him working shit out because they didn't rehearse, they didn't do it. So you can see the stuff that he's working out that ends up in the rest of the movie. But yeah, he's like all eyes are on him. He's embarrassed in a way because he said he's out there. He's out there for judgment. Nobody wants him there, and he plays that perfectly. And he's just given just the right clues. He's not doing the Christian Bale raspy, monster voice.
Yeah,
it's like in between Kevin Conroy and Michael Keaton, which is like a sweet spot.
Yeah, that's
there was
where
a
you
few times
be.
when when he was rageful, and he swear to me kind of scene. It was necessary. Like when he's banging on that glass, and he's like, "What did you do?" And he's just like singing Ave Maria, like that. I'm just like, holy crap. I mean, it was. I got the first time I watched it, I had chills because I was like, he's finally shown me the full Riddler. Like the whole movie, you're getting like little bits.
Yes.
But when he does the no, and he's like screaming at him, but it's not like a Darth Vader finding out that Padme's dead. No, kind of like it was. It was like almost like sad. Like you felt bad for him. They did it just right to where you kind of like the Joker, the movie we watched a couple weeks ago. You feel kind of bad for him, but he's a psychopath, so you can't feel too bad for him.
Right.
But yeah, that's just played perfectly. And like you said, when he does that pause before he starts going, Bruce Wayne, and he's like, you're like, oh, he figured him out, and then you see Pattinson's face, and he's like, fuck, like that whole 10 minutes of him almost confessing to Gordon who he is. He's thinking he's going to be outed.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, yeah, this is the Batman movie I know what you're saying, but the thing I've always wanted was that what I got from this movie, his vulnerability, and showing him young and not knowing how to deal with it, but also the detective stuff, which has always been lacking. And this whole movie's a detective movie. I mean, every single thing. The contact lenses thing, freaking genius.
Yep.
Ugh. The only thing I thought that was negative about that was that would have been a good moment to explain why Batman shows white eyes. Like in the comics, in the cartoon, he's always like the whited out eyes. You can't see his pupils. So with the lenses, that kind of would have explained it. But then his eyes were saying so much that you don't want to cover them.
Right. The emotion is too good. You can't be hiding that.
I liked, this is a nice touch. When he takes his mask off, he has like black makeup around his eyes.
Yeah. A little fan service for the ladies too that like that look,
That crow look. He did kind of look like the crow.
Like
and they show him applying it.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. Like, it's not it kind of completes the mask.
Yeah.
Like you can't have a mask on and just have like your eyes showing.
Well, the funny thing is in every other Batman movie, they always show him with the black covering his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they remove the cowl, it's gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes instantaneously, as we might find out this Christmas.
Right. Yeah. And it's such a like a, I don't know what the word. It's so obvious that you're like, come on, guys, like seriously.
Yeah.
But to embrace it, like Reeves did, and said, okay, we're gonna actually show him putting it on before it's part of the transformation.
Yeah.
And then when he takes the mask off, it's still, it's sweaty and it's running. It's almost like when you see a football player after a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And they got the black under their eyes, but it's kind of runned off. Yeah, it was perfect. Now his Bruce Wayne, that was my only problem with him, was that he was playing the same character, but I understood it and I was cool with it because it's year 2 and he's not, like he said, I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, he hasn't
not
put in the
focused
work
on that.
yet to figure out a way to use his mask, the Bruce
Right.
Wayne mask. But that'll
Yeah,
come.
so once I got over that, I was like, okay, I'm good with that.
And George, you talked earlier about how you like that the Nolan movies are like this complete thing. But,
Yeah.
the problem with the complete thing, and a lot of it is addressed actually within the Nolan verse as the movies go on. After the first one, as people are pointing out, well, there's a lot of Wayne Tech files that people could happen across. Okay, well, we'll give you Mr. Reese and he'll do this, well, if they've got all this going on, someone could find out the corporate assets and they could steal all the stuff. Oh, okay, Bane did that,
Mm-hmm.
By doing it this way, for one, we didn't have to see pearls on the street for the first time. Anybody else kind of happy that we didn't have to see the Waynes get murdered again?
Well, I looked at it differently. We
kinda.
didn't see the Crime Alley kill. This movie was basically a character assassination. So you watch them get killed through the whole movie.
Fair point.
Yeah.
But then,
I mean-
the same thing with the training. We didn't have to watch him go to ninja school. But
Right.
we did get that line from Alfred, who, by the way, Alfred in this movie kicked a lot of butt.
Yeah.
He was okay.
Oh my gosh. Shut your mouth. But the line, I could teach him how to fight, but I couldn't, whatever the rest of that line
Right.
was.
Yeah, they kind of touch on the Pennyworth.
Yeah, he could teach him how to defend himself.
What's the group he was part of in England? It's basically their CIA.
Is he SAS in this one? I don't remember. In some of the
They
comic
kinda
books, he's
hinted
like
towards it.
he's retired SAS, which would be like retired Delta Force or SEAL Team 6.
Right.
Actually, SAS are the guys that invented it, and then we borrowed all their knowledge and created guys like the SEAL Team. So,
Right.
if that is where he comes from and if that's the training, great. It does call into question, again, we talked about this before, if you make him an established, like, former Special Forces guy working for Thomas Wayne, then, like, what all is Thomas Wayne into?
Right.
But in this one, I mean, they already, they already went pretty far with that character assassination, so maybe it's not too far fetched that he would need private security or whatever.
Yeah, and I also like how they show Alfred just help enough. They don't show him helping with the technology like they did in the Burton movies where Alfred was like underneath the hood helping. But he was helping with the deciphering and kind of, you see where he might have trained Bruce physically on how to fight, but he's also training Bruce, which is another reason why I think he is part of this special Delta Force in his past, showing him how to work the puzzles and figure those things out too, because he wasn't like just picking them up like when you watch Batman Forever, if you ever watch it, Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne just kind of reads the puzzle, figures it out, boom. Done. There's no detective work at all. He just has the answer. And in this, at least, they kind of show the process a little bit more, which I liked.
I love when we first saw pictures of the Batsuit. I, being the guy who would care about that kind of stuff, really just do
Right.
I like it? Is it too clunky? Is Pattinson's head too big? To get kind of an odd bulby head. Once it's in motion, I didn't really notice that anymore, though. I think it was only in those early shots that I just noticed he has quite a dome on him. But everything
it
looks
smaller in the movie.
homemade, man. Like, everything in his arsenal looks like a dude in
Even
his
his car.
20s with a little bit of free time. Even up to the Batmobile, which just looks like he took an old Camaro or something and then just hot rodded it himself without any
Put a
instructions.
Jet engine in it.
Hell yeah,
dude,
man.
That car. That
I
chase
missed.
scene.
I
Holy
don't know what
crap.
they're called, but I missed the
gauntlets.
the forearm. Is that what they're called? The gauntlets.
The gauntlets.
I missed them.
I think they'll be there eventually.
Yeah.
Like Dan said, I think they wanted to establish the Peter Parker part of Bruce Wayne where he's creating all this shit in the basement of his dad's old, escape tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And everything looks industrial. Everything looks welded. His gauntlets are more like that metal, which I didn't like when I saw in the original pictures. The piping that he had on his arms.
Yeah.
I think that's all gonna get
Refined.
Yeah. Same with the car. I think the car is gonna look a lot less like a roadster. But that car was badass. I had a Christine moment a few times in that movie too, which I was like, okay. But you haven't seen Christine yet. But just the reveal of the car was very Christine. the end of the alleyway.
And we haven't talked about Catwoman yet, although she's huge in this movie.
Yeah, she's very prominent.
And I mean, there's some risks with her character as well as the Waynes that I think some of the comic book fans among us might have chafed a little bit initially.
What about her being related to Falcone?
Yeah, where it's just
They
like,
can always
do we need this?
They can fix that.
But they don't need to fix it because this
Right.
isn't the comic books, right? And
Right.
and nowadays, where you're on DC Universe reboot number 7, right? Canon has been so stretched gapingly that anything fits in there anymore. So
Yeah.
I say leave it be, man.
But if they ever want to like retro, what do they call it? Retro fix or what do the kids call it? I don't remember. But if they want to fix it, they can always say, well, she's not his daughter. Maybe her mother, kind of like in the Joker.
Some revisionist history.
Revisionist history where you
retcon
find
is the
out.
term you're looking
Retcon
for.
is the term I'm looking for. Yeah, they can retcon it by saying, just like they did in the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, where the mother was just insane and made it up.
Yeah.
They can always say that Selena Kyle's mother told her that Falcone was her father, but he really isn't. And most comic book fans will be happy with that. Like, making her related to him does change the canon, but it works within this story. But it really wasn't necessary.
No.
It just because even he didn't know she was his daughter until she told him. So I was like, it wasn't necessary. That I had a problem with, and I had a problem with her saving him at the end. That scene bothered me just a little bit.
Saving who?
Bruce or Batman. Like when he took that shotgun to the
gauge?
chest.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of hanging there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just took on like 15 guys in a matter of 2 minutes. I don't think he needed her help.
Well, maybe it was 14, he would have been fine, and 15 was one too many.
Although I did like the injection of the venom, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing where, my wife was like,
what was going on with that?
Yeah, my wife was like, was that like adrenaline or something? I'm like, that might have been like a Venom reference. Like we might already be
completely is.
Kind of laying that on the thing here.
That was an Easter egg for future villain.
Was that?
Really interesting.
That's the venom that Bane gets and becomes like roid rage. That's his injection that he puts into his body and makes him Hulk out. And what you saw, his little adrenaline rush that he got.
Yes, he basically went. Yeah, he totally went off the rails. Because of it. Times
like 100.
Yeah, the mouse with the feeder bar is what you're going to end up with if they give that to Bane. I thought that was a really interesting reach, but I kind of loved everything in this movie. Like I thought most of those like risky things they did, they tempered with like, I don't know, commitment almost. Like, a lot of these comic book movies will do stuff, but they'll also leave like an out. There's like, we may have hinted at that, or maybe it's nothing and it's just an Easter egg. In this movie, I felt like it was like, we did that. What do you think?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you think because we already did it. Like, this movie had balls, dude.
Yeah. I feel like my only problems with this movie all happened in the last half hour. And it's nitpicky, but I feel like when he heard the one minion say, I'm vengeance, and he took that as he should, and then kind of, goes down and saves all the people comes the beacon of light for the people, whatever. I felt like that was kind of lame. He should have done.
Do you guys remember a few weeks ago, because we talked about this before I saw the movie, when I told you about how I love the end of Kingdom Come, the graphic novel, when he realizes that he's going to do more good by becoming like
Hope.
Yeah, becoming essentially like Thomas Wayne in white and red instead of Bruce Wayne and Batman in black and yellow. Like, that was my message, man. That was the thing I was looking for. So when they had the balls to do it in the first movie, I was just like, holy shit, this is...
No, I don't have a problem with the message. I think
amazing.
That's a good message where he finally realizes his purpose and that he can do more good by being a beacon of hope. I think visually he should have done more physically to save those people. Just to kind of go into the water, put a light on, and have them walk towards him. Like, they could have done that without him.
But they weren't.
I know they weren't,
it,
but I think he
so-
should have, at least as a superhero.
He's not a
I'm doing
superhero, though. He's
air
Batman.
quotes. As a hero, air quotes, he should have probably done, even if he did a kind of a squat to lift some of that rigging, the people that were trapped underneath. That way it kind of looked more heroic.
Say if he needed to take a shot of venom in order to be strong enough to do it.
Right. But just something physical. You know, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, when he stops the train with his arms outstretched.
Yes.
It's symbolic of sacrifice. It's basically very Christ-like.
Yep.
And
he's giving everything he's got.
Everything. And then Bruce Wayne does, or Bale does it when he says to Kyle, when she's like, "You've done enough," and he's like, "You've given them everything." He's like, "Not everything.
Not everything.
Not everything." But every hero has that moment.
Yep.
Well, remember in the Batman, there's that part where he kind of just like looks around. Is he on like a rope or something, or a cable? And he just like cuts it and drops in. I thought that was his self-sacrifice moment. Where
that's the scene I'm talking about. But I just think him doing that would have been fine, Dan, but he should have lifted some shit.
Dan, did that totally go over your head? What that was?
It was
cutting the umbilical cord.
It was 3 weeks ago, man. I don't remember if I had the feelings. What did you take it as?
I took it as that was high voltage, and when it fell into the water, everyone down there would have been fried.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And so what he did was he took his blade, and he took the shock,
right,
on himself.
Oh, I see.
Like by cutting it and dropping down, so that that was kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go. I might be dead after this, but it's worth it. Boom. And,
yeah, absolutely.
All of the physics worked out. He wouldn't have probably been dead from that.
No, I was fine with all that. I just think that seeing him lift some shit to get people out, it just seemed like it was very, I don't want to say anticlimactic, because there was a lot of climactic going on.
Sure.
And there was a lot of character development and revelation and all that stuff. I was fine with all of it. I just think visually he should have saved them a little bit better in the beginning of that, and then led them out by the beacon. So that way it didn't look so superhero-ish or hero-ish. It just looked like any of those cops could have grabbed a flare and led them out of there.
But you could also argue that he's just going straight to teaching people how to fish. Right? Like, it's a bigger... He can do more good by inspiring directly than by him being the one to lift stuff up, He can lift up one thing at a time, but if he gets all of them to do some lifting, they can together lift up more things.
That's fine. It reminded me of the scene in Dark Knight after Rachel blows up. Spoiler alert. And
for a movie we covered like 2 months ago and is like 12 years old.
And that came out 15 years ago?
Yeah. And Batman's holding the coin in the rubble and his cape's a-flapping, as Tyrone Magnus would say. And that scene, he's not lifting anything there either, but visually it has more of a comic booky feel of him just kind of standing over the rubble and prevailing, I guess, or whatever. That was missing in that you got that at the helicopter lift when he was bringing people up to the top of the building.
Yeah.
But I just wanted more of that in the water. I don't know if you saw the Tom Holland, any of the Tom Holland Spider-Mans, but there's
I've
a
seen
scene
the
where
first one, I think.
Yeah, well, the scene where he has to lift up, the whole building falls on him, and it's like right out of the comics. It's like a cover shot, splash page of him lifting the building so he can get out. But it's like a moment where he has to psych himself up to do it. Now, obviously, Batman doesn't have the power, the superpowers that Spider-Man has, but that moment, that lifting, so kids can get out from underneath the piping, that's all I needed to see. And then the beacon, flare, all that shit would have worked just fine for me. I wouldn't even have thought about it. But it just seemed kind of weird that they could have, the water... really wasn't that dangerous, other than possibly getting electrocuted.
Well, I think that it might have went over a lot of people's heads. If it went over Dan's head, that his big sacrifice was cutting that thing.
Right.
Like, and in cutting it, he saved those people.
Right.
And then it also sent him down to where he lights the flare and leads them out. I think it was kind of like it was beautiful. It wasn't so in your face.
Right.
His superhuman sacrifice, or like his laying himself on the line totally. It wasn't as in your face as some other superhero movies like Spider-Man with the train and whatnot, but it was definitely there.
Yeah. It was there.
Because he knew exactly what he was doing when he cut that cable. He was like, this is going to hurt. Boom. And I think
the problem is the director movie fan in me saw all that rubble and saw the people hiding in it, but no one was under it. There was
they had to be stuck in there.
Yeah.
The water had to be rising.
Exactly.
And they had to get out right now.
Yes.
That's
all I needed, and I would have been fine.
Sure. Got you.
Now, did you guys watch the trailers for this movie as they came out?
No.
I saw the first trailer.
I watched the first
one. I saw a couple
one.
of TV spots.
I did not watch any of the TV spots. I didn't watch any trailers after the first one. But I have to compliment Matt Reeves and company, because the first trailer is all pulled from the first 15 minutes of this movie.
Yes.
And so any concerns I had about spoiling late movie developments or anything, I mean, they didn't do anything. They nailed the tone. They made me know exactly what this movie was going to be, at least for the first, 3 quarters or whatever. But wow, guys, excellent trailer work. Good job, guys, not giving away the whole movie.
Now, watching the movie, I had that moment where I was like, man, they should not have shown the reveal where he beats that guy down. Because that would have been an oh shit moment in the theater if you didn't know that was coming.
When Batman beats the painted face guy down?
Yeah, when they're on the train platform. That whole scene is in the trailer when he's like, who are you supposed to be? Even though they know who he is, the fact that he said that kind of didn't work with the beginning, because he did that whole voiceover with the, when that signal goes up, it's not just a call, it's a warning. Like, they know who he is. So that guy's like, yeah, who are you supposed to be? That wasn't the right line after watching the movie, because I was like, okay, they know who that guy is. But when he's like, when he beats the shit out of a guy, he gets no shots in at all. And then he says, I am vengeance. It's like, I knew that was coming. So that wasn't an oh shit moment for me. There's plenty of other oh shit moments. But
okay, so I didn't see any trailers or anything. And I love, and I don't know why I love it, I love that he says that he's vengeance.
Yes.
See, now here's the thing. I, being the Batman geek, right? When I see that trailer, I think, oh, I don't know that they're getting the Batman character. Like, I dug the way it all goes in the movie. That's how I wanted it to go. And I'm so glad they gave me the taste of that in the trailer, because it makes me think, oh God, we're doing a darker, grittier, worse, less idealistic Batman than I really want. But we'll have to wait and see, right? And then they rewarded my faith. At the end of The Dark Knight, when people have the right to have their faith rewarded, or whatever it is that Christian Bale says.
Right.
That was me, because I really, and I know that the Kevin Conroy thing, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman, all these things.
Yeah.
That's one, portion of the Batman character from the animated series. But in the comic books, he's not vengeance incarnate, because he's at least not personal revenge, because that would be that's like the flaw of the 89 Batman, right? Like, I killed the guy that killed my parents, game over, I guess I'll retire now, we're done,
right?
And so the idea that Batman has to be more than just personal revenge. And so when I see this trailer, I think, oh no. And then when I see this movie, I'm like, holy shit, they got it, they nailed it, they did the thing.
Well,
they did a lot of things.
So good.
I think, I mean, I'm not the Batman aficionado that either of you are, but I always thought that Batman evolved from vengeance to,
It's kind of like The Punisher. Like, The Punisher was driven by the drug cartels that killed his family. He becomes like a vengeance character where he's just like, I'm going to hunt these dickbags down. I'm going to kill each one of them. I'm going to make sure they know my name as I'm killing them. I'm Frank Castle. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where he was established. And then obviously they branched it off into becoming a villain of types or an anti-hero, whatever. But Batman started the same way. It was a personal choice to find the killer of his parents. But then it turned into, okay, this is a lot deeper than just them. And like they say in this movie, you killed, I don't know if Maroni's dead. I guess he's not. Maroni's in jail. So Falcone's gone. There's a lot of voids that are going to be filled. And she says that to him. She's like, it's not going to get better.
Yeah. I always felt like it went from personal vengeance to, like Alfred said in the movie, you're going to throw your entire family legacy away over this. And he says, this is my family legacy. It goes from vengeance to that.
Right.
Like, and
he changes it when that one guy says, when he realizes he's inspiring the villains.
Yes, but I think it's more gradual. I think it happens even sooner in the movie than when the villain guy says he's vengeance.
Right.
I think he's, because that happens earlier, that conversation with Alfred.
Right.
It's, I don't know, man.
When he said, "You're not my dad."
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think Batman has always been a transformation. Like, his character arc has always been vengeance, revenge, avenge my father, and then it turns into my father. What were his goals? He loved the city. I love the city. I need to save the city. I need to finish my father's work is what it turns into.
Right.
And that's where you kind of see that transition into like the Caped Crusader rather than just the Dark Knight of vengeance and punching and stuff.
This is the Arkham Asylum video game Batman.
Have you played the Arkham games, George?
No.
Oh shit. Okay, stop what you're doing. Go play the first Arkham. Go play Arkham Asylum. That game. You don't get this movie if you don't have that game. Even down to the fighting style. Like, I never really cared for any of the Nolan fighting. I always thought it looked too close up in a lot of the shots, and then it just didn't look like what I expected out of my Batman. And then for me to get the Arkham games where it's just like, oh no, this game gets it. Now to see that fighting style in this movie was amazing. Although I have some hesitation about how bullets work in this movie. Just in general.
Are you going to rip on George's favorite scene?
Why do you say that?
It's just, the thing where he's just like blocking a bunch of rifle rounds and stuff. I'm like, okay. Oh.
Well, as long as they don't hit him in the cheek or the chin or the neck.
Yeah, it all seems bulletproof.
How much does that suit weigh, though? I don't know. Here's the thing.
You hear the thumping when he's walking. It's thumping.
I like the thumping. I like the heavy footsteps. That's pretty cool. Although, stealthy Batman probably shouldn't be stompy. But in the Arkham games, one of the things they get right, especially the first one, if you walk up on 3 dudes who have assault rifles, you're dead. Like, that bat suit's not stopping shit. So, that's one thing I would have preferred if I could have had my druthers. That's probably the main concern I had with this movie was at times he was a little tank-like in his ability to just sit there and Superman his way through some bullets. Yeah, where I'd prefer to him just be sneakier.
I was fine with it only because I've 10 years into the Iron Man mentality where I was like, okay, I'll buy into the fact that he's got the suit.
And Nolan's Batman handles that perfectly.
But I don't think we needed another realistic Batman.
He's a ninja. He can take on as many guys with machine guns as he wants because he can disappear.
Right.
In a way that a normal man cannot do.
What does he say? You were adapt to the darkness. I was born in it.
I was
theatricality.
Theatricality.
Can we talk about well, actually, let's talk more about guns.
Guns.
I grinned and I was filled with joy at the hallway scene.
Holy shnikes. Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh my God. That was worth the price of admission right there.
That's one scene I'm already like, man, I don't want my kids to watch this movie because it's too, like, especially the Seven inspired stuff and the Riddler, like, slasher movie stuff. It's just too much for a kid. But man, that fight in the hallway is so stylish.
Yeah.
That I kind of want my older kid at least to check that out. That was a cool shot.
Yeah.
And I liked that it also handles the bulletproof batsuit well, because that scene could have taken place without a bulletproof batsuit because it was 100% pitch dark.
Yep. Yeah, and he was very stealthy.
Yes. And
he wasn't wearing his heavy suit.
They can they can shoot as many bullets as they want, but if they can't see him and they don't know where he is,
right,
you can't hit him. I just love the way that was shot. The only light you have is the muzzle flash. And Batman is changing positions. He's here, he's there, he's what, and every now and then you get a burst, like a and it's like lit up for like a good second, and then it goes away again. And you're like, what is going on?
And you realize it is a curved flash of a muzzle flash because he's already grabbed the gun and the guy's shooting it as he's flipping him.
So good. Oh my God.
Like I was like, that was one of my favorites. I told George. That reminded me. Did you ever see Rogue One, Dan?
I've not seen Rogue One. That is the next one in my watching wall with my kid. And my kids don't like it, so they keep dragging their feet.
Okay.
I'm like, hey, we gotta watch Rogue One. That's the next one. They're like, oh, we don't like that one.
If they know what it is, they might. Do they like the original Star Wars?
They love the original Star Wars, and they know the plot. I think it's too much of a war movie and not enough of a Star Wars movie. It just doesn't. To little kids, they just don't love it.
The beginning of New Hope. Right.
I thought it looked like the coolest one, but I've heard the Darth Vader massacre at the end is just like, whoa.
Yes. That's what the hallway scene in the Batman is like. Like if you like that scene, you'll love the Vader massacre scene. It's like I said, it's worth the price of admission just to see that. I remember watching that scene like I watched this Batman scene where I literally couldn't smile any bigger. I was just like, yes.
Dude, so filled with joy at what my eyes were witnessing.
So good.
I'm so glad it wasn't spoiled for me.
Yeah, that's not. I think it's kind of in the one of the later trailers, but it's not in the original trailer.
I'm so glad it wasn't spoiled because it was so well shot.
One of the best lines is ruined in one of the commercials, and I'm pissed about it.
Which one?
It's a corny line, but when he looks down and he's got like 5 cats around his feet and he's like, you got a lot of cats.
It's so good.
All right, so
I was like, that's a great line.
The next thing I wanted to talk about, that's a great transition for what I wanted to talk about. You know how in the Nolan Batman, and actually in a lot of the Batmans, there's like these corny things, like these
little humor lines,
these little humor jokes. They were in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And if you weren't paying attention, you might miss them.
Right. Or if you're not all in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when they're standing in the interrogation room and he's like, who's the mustache? I'm like, that's a great line.
Yeah.
But no one's like even catching that. Yeah. Or when he does the thumb drive line, I laughed out loud like when he did that. People looked at me like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, that's fun. You're not laughing at this? When he says thumb drive. Like, I was like, I'm getting this guy's humor. I'm getting all of it. I'm on board. I don't care what happens in this movie. I'm a Pattinson fan.
Well, and I always hated him. The Pattinson Batman is so human that he's not a robot going, so that's what that feels like, right? Like, no, if Pattinson, is that what they call him?
Pattinson?
If this Batman, if the Batman,
Pattinson.
Yeah, if the Batman 2, Dark Victory, or whatever comic book they're gonna base the next one on, because this is definitely Long Halloween.
Court of Owls,
right?
I think they're going Court of Owls.
Really interesting. I've never seen a Court of Owls comic book I loved, but I can't do monthlies, and I just haven't caught
Right.
up on the graphic
Well,
novel.
they might. I think they're gonna mix The Long Halloween and Court of Owls somehow. The sky's the limit. From what I can tell.
Yeah,
from
give them
Matt
whatever they
Reeves.
want because they
Yeah.
did a good job. But in the Batman, if there's a time that Batman gets left on a rooftop and he goes, "So that's what that feels like," I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, man, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Great job putting that in the
Yeah.
movie." Because this Batman can have those feelings, whereas the Nolan one, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Just don't
No,
know.
I hear you. I would say he almost every scene he had like a one-liner. Like when he kept showing up at the door and he's like, "You know who I am.
So
you know who
good.
I am." Like I'm like that's good.
Oh no, yeah. The first time he shows up and
twins are like-
he's in his bat suit,
Yeah.
and the twins are like, "Hell no," and then
They're like
and then the second time that he shows up at the door, but now he's Bruce Wayne, and it's the same twins, only
Right.
they got the shit beat out of them like yesterday.
they did have a line. They said, "You take one more step, there's gonna be blood all over you," and he goes, "Yours or mine."
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I'm all on. That's a Steven Seagal moment where
Yeah.
it's just like, whatever, dude. Do you, and I'm getting in. Period.
yeah. I love that. Just like they open the door, and it's like Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
and it's like frame for frame.
And the third time he sneaks in, it's
Yeah.
like, but he's not in costume. I did have a problem with that. I was like, wait, he went in his emo outfit, and then he got dressed. Like, I don't know why he was not in his Batman for the third visit. But
I don't know.
I didn't care. I'm like, whatever.
When he shows up and the door opens and it's Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
and it's not Batman, it's Bruce Wayne. And it's exactly like, and the twins are just all like stitched up and band-aided.
Well, that was the scene where you meet the Penguin for the
bruised.
first time, and he has some awesome friggin' lines.
Mm-hmm.
I see him at the Twins. Like, he's just like, I don't know. I was digging him too.
Well,
And I was
besides all the guys we've talked about so far, we haven't talked about Jeffrey Wright yet, playing Gordon. Oh
Gordon,
my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Like, I loved him in Casino Royale, which you
Mhm.
haven't seen yet, George. Well, have you seen that one, George?
Casino Royale.
James
James
Bond
Bond.
movie?
I have actually.
He plays the CIA guy at the poker game.
Okay.
And I thought, oh man, what a cool, like, kind of counterpoint to this, like, proto Bond, you know, like he's more advanced than Bond, but he's not as suave as, it was good character. And then Westworld, the TV show on HBO, he's got, especially the first season or two, he's just the glue of that show. So when they put him in as Gordon, I was just like, hell yes, you
Yeah.
know, and he came through. Oh my God.
Well, they perfectly introduced us to him because he was part of the first trailer, pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It was that opening scene in the mayor's room.
I'm still mind blown by the way that that's like the first thing he did in the bat suit. So some of the awkwardness of being in the light with these cops for the first time is also the awkwardness of being in the suit for the first time. Carry on. My mind blown.
It was funny when that one the forensics guy's like walking and he like goes like nose to chest to him and he's like, you didn't even realize he was standing there. And he's like, excuse me, like, get the fuck out of my way.
Well, in the line on one of the scenes where they're like, well, he's wearing gloves.
Oh, yeah. He's wearing gloves.
He's wearing gloves.
It's a good line. Oh, my God.
It is a good line. I did have a problem, like when they finally got into John Doe's apartment. I mean, Nigma's apartment. They just let everybody just walk around a crime scene like that. I'm just like, but I guess the room really wasn't a crime scene.
I mean, it's
not.
It's also Gotham.
Yeah, but that all the more reason that not have 37 cops in there touching shit.
I think at some point the scene eventually looks like that after they've had a chance to do their initial sweep. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know much about that procedure, but I know what I see on TV. Seems like occasionally you end up with a lot of CSI guys in there. Hey, so
and the bat reveal in that room was cool too.
Oh yeah,
when he's looking in the cage and he's like, that one's not a bat, or it's not a rat.
Yeah,
that was a cool looking bat.
It was big.
I was on board for that. It's good shit.
No, I think that's probably
Schumacher
when
did.
Pattinson caught COVID, right? He played with that bat. That's
Maybe.
probably not funny.
Yeah, strike that.
I don't know. I don't want to get slapped.
Strike it. Reverse it.
Hey, so guys, Saw. Now, we haven't released that episode yet. You guys in the audience won't get to hear that for another 2 weeks. But the Jigsaw-style traps, including the rats on the face and then the bomb around the neck that has to be, like, through a game disarmed. Like, the idea to make Riddler a Jigsaw, I kind of love it.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great choice because those 2 or 3 scenes, which equals about 11 minutes, was way better than anything done in Saw. And people I know love Saw, but it's like, I don't know, the emotion that the DA had enough emotion for the 2 actors that were in Saw. Like he was selling that shit big time. And then obviously Paul Dano on the other side, like celebrating his answers was great.
That he gives him 2 minutes to answer 3 questions, and he takes his time
to read the question.
Like he's Bob Barker on a game show.
Well, you don't feel that till the third question.
He takes his time.
I was thinking that too. I'm watching
so
it.
Unfair. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so unfair.
He's reading that third question like, "Do you?" And he's like, "Total." And it's like, dude, you just wasted 5 seconds saying the word "you."
Yeah, it's so rigged.
Tick tick tick.
I love how crooked the game is. So good.
What would have been cool is when he exploded. Because I guess they implied it, but they didn't show it. Batman was holding his face.
If he still had his face,
he still had his head in his hand.
Oh my God,
that would have been kind of cool, but not necessary. But would have been good. It would have. I don't know.
That might have pushed him over into the R rating, even for a Batman movie.
That would have been a good Savini moment.
I gotta say, man, for a movie that is PG-13, and it's Dark Knight's the same way, these guys really pushed the limits of the PG-13 rating to where, like, even my theater locally, Screenland in Kansas City, had a sign up that said, "Hey, you got to be 13 or older to go to this movie. We don't care." I thought that was probably a good idea.
It's disturbing. And they kind of touch on the whole, underground militia type. Like, it's pretty heavy subject matter, even though it is Batman. It's like, you don't want kids seeing that and being inspired to go look on the dark web to belong to groups like that.
Yeah.
So, I understand that. What was your feeling on Zoe Kravitz?
I thought she was great, man. I didn't have a single complaint about her character development. Thought she was as good a Catwoman as we've seen on screen, man. I mean, I never really loved the Pfeiffer Catwoman. I got it, but here's the thing: I haven't watched that movie in 15 years. So when the time comes that we revisit Batman Returns, I'm interested to see if 36, 37-year-old me maybe likes her better than I did as a kid.
I've loved her since I was a kid, so I was all on board.
So that's the thing. I'm interested to see where I fall on that. But other than her, I didn't love the Catwoman of Dark Knight Rises. Like, Anne Hathaway had some really good moments, but it was usually out of the mask, out of the costume, like, hysterical to totally cold or the opposite react. Like, good actor stuff, but character stuff,
I felt like her relationship with him was a little forced.
Yeah.
In Rises. This movie, because I kind of made a comment when we were coming out of the movie, and he's like, George is a Hathaway. And I get it, because I loved her too, but I think as Catwoman, this one is more legit. That whole dichotomy of, is she going to help him? You're not really sure. Like, they handled that correctly.
I thought that in the Nolan's Catwoman kept me guessing more. Like,
in the story,
I never trusted her.
Right.
But
I feel like her romance with him, their relationship was a little forced.
Right, but you don't know. Yeah, it seems that way, and you don't know if it's that way because she's just using him.
Right. But the fact that she's such a good actress, that whole, like we talked about before, that is he alive? I don't know. Like, you can see in her face that she realizes that she screwed him royally,
Yes.
and it's affecting her. But I still feel like the relationship, the fact that they end up together at the end of the movie, there was no romance there. It was just like they worked together. There was a little bit of banter, but there was no romance. I feel like this movie, there was a lot of good chemistry.
Yeah, definitely.
And the story helped them get together. Like the fact that they were working together to find the girl, but then she was on her own trying to steal money, so then it makes her kind of a cab burglar, so he's got to fight against her, but then they're going to end up together working. Like they handled that correctly to the point. Only in the cartoon was that ever done right, where they had a Bruce and Selena relationship, they had a Catwoman Batman relationship. They didn't really know that they were the same people at some point. Like their paths crossed. I don't know if they ever found out each other. Dan,
I don't remember from the later cartoon if they ever reveal it.
Yeah,
but
so
it's just
it was done well.
It needs to be complex for it to sustain itself, or else at one point or the other, it's going to become either too hokey or not make any sense. Like, nobody told Christian Bale's Batman that, like, oh yeah, by the way, this chick totally sold you out, nearly got you killed, and almost got your whole city destroyed.
Right.
He just never figured that out, I guess.
But she looks good in a bathing suit, so let's invite her to Venice.
I guess. I don't
Darn
know.
right. Darn right she
But
did.
with this one, you get that, especially when they have the couple meetings on the rooftop where she basically calls him out, being, you obviously grew up rich, like all these different things. She kind of throws them under the bus. Could have done without the white privilege comment. I get the privilege comment because there was a lot of privilege in that town, no matter what color you were. But it's like the privilege was completely legit, that comment. So she was hitting him hard with these comments as Catwoman. She doesn't know he's Bruce Wayne, but then they never had a Bruce Wayne Selena moment in this movie, so that's interesting that they might eventually go back to that. But I was on board for that.
Now at the end of the movie, George, you get an in Arkham interaction between the Riddler and the next door neighbor cellmate.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience with that.
Are we there
scene.
now?
I think we're there now.
My experience
Yeah,
with
tell
that
me,
scene?
you're George, you're watching the scene. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I know exactly who that is.
What do you think about the makeup that you get to see?
They really don't show you much of
Not
it in
much.
that scene,
They
man.
don't show you much. They don't show you much at all. You see like a brow and like an orbital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really don't know it's him until he says the riddle me this line, and then he has that cackle, that little under the
Oh my
breath
God, when they
giggle.
were both giggling together. Ugh.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So uncomfortable.
Well, if you think that's good,
It's so good.
We'll take a little. I'll do the magic of time and editing, and skip our listeners ahead to after you've seen the scene that you're gonna watch, and I'll watch it with you. And listeners, if you want to go ahead and watch the deleted scene, it's all over the internet. The Twitter account of Matt Reeves shared it recently, and Batman-news.com has a quick link to it. Check out the deleted scene from The Batman, and we will rejoin our previous recording in progress here. So we're back. You've seen the extended scene. What do you think, George? What are your initial thoughts? Before you've really, dug too deep into it, what's your initial impression?
Batman goes to see Hannibal Lecter. It was shot beautifully, because obviously with the history, the only thing you want to know is what he looks like.
Right.
The Joker. Right? And he's blurry
the whole time.
the entire time.
Yep.
And you're like, you can't take your eyes off him
But you
because
see his John Doe fingers.
yeah. I'm wondering. I kind of was like, I don't know if that's too much. Like, what's the hell? Why? But it doesn't matter. I can get past that. Yeah. So he's blurry the whole time, and you're just like you just can't take your eyes off of it
Right.
because when they decide to show it to you, you want to see
You're
it.
getting it in pieces.
Yep, you get it from the back. You get it from the back. You get it from the side. But you don't get obviously until the end.
Right.
And they still don't give you the whole face. They
No.
give you the top, and then they slide down, and then they give you the mouth, and it's like you gonna have to just put it together in your own head.
And you're not
What
really.
the whole thing
they
looks
don't
like.
tell you if he's still damaged from their last interaction.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if he's just swollen from that. Like, you don't know. Like, yeah, he said this is our anniversary, so you're thinking a year,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know. Reeves had already said that this Joker has a skin, genetic skin thing that makes him look the way he does.
Yeah.
Almost like a mangy kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it is permanent or if he's swollen from what like an inflammation or whatever. But he clearly has trauma all over his body. Is it self-inflicted? Like, all that stuff is mysterious. And I believe this might be the Joker that winds up self-mutilating, so you're not really sure. Like, there's just so many things that if they go that route, which there is a Joker that does that, if that's going to be this Joker, like...
This is the universe to do it in.
Yes. So
I mean, shoot.
Like, he's so uncomfortable in his own skin that he doesn't want his skin. Let's put it that way.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If they go that route, then I'm all on board because verbally he sounds perfect. The stuff he's saying,
Yep.
He's very psychological.
Yep.
That whole
I love
sarcasm.
I love how he turns it right on.
Yeah.
Batman.
It's like, but you're more fun. Like, I want to let me pick on you a little bit more.
Yeah, he tries to shrink Batman real quick,
Right.
and Batman's
We're
like,
not
let's
talking
stay
about
about
me.
him. Well, yeah, let's talk about this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's
it's
gonna be
very very Lecter.
And I think
Lecter-like.
they're everybody's like I saw some complaints online. They're like, "Oh my god, with the Joker again." Blah blah blah. I'm like,
No,
just
hold
slow
on.
the fuck
Just
down
just
because
just let him.
he's gonna be a reoccurring character in this matter. I don't think they'll have him come in and out, but it's not gonna be like Ledger plan the whole movie.
Mhm.
He's gonna be sprinkled in. He's gonna be in the Arkham TV show that they're doing. He's going to be an established character that is visited. And like, I'm all on board. This is brand new. It's something they haven't done yet other than the comic books.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how many movies have they done? They've never done this. So I'm all on board.
And when it comes down to what the Joker said, it's true.
It's true. This scene happens right before he goes in to see Paul Dano. So you can see why they removed it. When he goes to Arkham to see the Riddler, he visits Joker first. Now, I don't know if it's two separate visits.
It
He
has to be
visits
two
the
separate.
Joker,
Because this is before they catch him, right? This has to be way
Right.
earlier in the movie.
but it couldn't be any more than a half hour prior.
I'm gonna
So
have to next time I watch the movie. I'm going to have to play the game of
See where it
when do we
fits.
put this scene in?
Yeah. But I understand because that scene, if that scene was in this movie, you wouldn't think of anything else the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
You'd be constantly thinking of that.
Yeah.
No matter what Paul Dano does, you're like, where the fuck's Joker? Bring that back because I'm digging that. So they left that out on purpose.
Couple of things I noticed this time watching it. That opening shot from behind where you see like the skin condition of the back of the Joker's head and the hair reminds me so much of Renfield
Yes.
from the
Dracula.
Dracula movie made by Coppola where Tom Waits plays Renfield.
Yes.
I'm getting a real Tom Waits back of the head vibe from that Joker. When you get to
Tom
the actual
Waits,
speaking part,
Christopher Nolan.
when you get to the speaking part, there's actually a couple of lines in there that sound like Heath Ledger. Like they're doing a lot of like tiptoeing around that kind of delivery. And yeah, I was just like, oh, wow. Like they're not afraid to go there. And that's impressive.
I'm glad they released this because Keegan was getting some flack for that scene with the Riddler. People thought it was a little corny. They weren't digging his person. Now, you obviously were. I liked it.
The scene that was actually in the movie at the very
yeah.
end. I don't see how you could hate it.
But there's people that, like Dan's saying, they only have Ledger on the mind. Jared Leto was ugh. So it's like anybody who does the Joker used to be compared to Jack Nicholson. Now they're compared to Heath Ledger.
Okay, so my stance on this, I love Heath Ledger's Joker. Absolutely, 100%. Love Heath Ledger's Joker. I don't think that anything should be so sacred,
right,
that you don't ever touch it again.
No,
I think that it has a certain sacredness to it now that it didn't before because of Heath Ledger, and I think that anybody who tries to do it, I mean, it's a huge undertaking now, more than it ever was. But I don't think it shouldn't be tried.
No, because in the end, Mark Hamill's the best Joker, and he's in a cartoon format. Now, it would have been really cool. I know they wouldn't have done
Oh my
this.
God. Yeah.
But if Mark freaking Hamill was the Joker in this scene, I would have lost my shit, because he's old enough to have all the deformities that they can do on him and kind of make him look. But that voice, if it was his voice in that scene, I think people would have lost their mind. Or I was also, like I said, when we watched The Joker, it would have been nice if Joaquin Phoenix was this universe's Joker as well, because it fits.
I think it's good confirmation that we don't have to worry about that, which makes me real happy.
Right. Yes.
As we've discussed at length on the
I would have
Joker
been
episode.
fine with it, but the fact that this kid's good.
Yes.
He's very good, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. Just that line when he goes, is it 1 year anniversary? He's like, paper. When he says paper,
It's the paper anniversary.
I was like, oh my God. Like he's totally doing the lip stuff that Ledger did, and that whiny voice, but he's not doing it up to the Tom Waits level. It was perfect, and I think people just need to give him a chance.
Okay, but counterpoint.
I
And I'm not going to tell
your hang-up's the makeup. I think.
I'm not going to crap on everything about it, because I like a lot of what they're doing here. The initial delivery in the deleted scene sounds part and parcel with the voice of the hillbilly from the Friday remake. Go back and watch when he's talking to, I think it's a mannequin he wants to bang. Listen to his delivery versus the initial 2 lines from the Joker, and the voice and the cadence are so similar that it took me out real hard right away. I was like, oh no, he recovers by the end. He sells me on his performance, but go back and listen to Bubba or whatever that guy's name was.
Okay.
And it's hilarious.
It's been a long time, Gina.
Present.
You remember that special night we had? Remember when you took my virginity?
Almost your anniversary, isn't it?
You're sexy.
First anniversary games, paper. What makes you think I come so cheap?
You're still tight as ever. I'm gonna fucking pound you so hard.
I thought you'd be curious. You think I could offer this stuff? Don't you?
You know this. When I was watching the scene, I kept picturing Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, that's funny.
For some reason, like he came off, like, especially when he was like, "Have you read The File?" Like, you guys are more in common than you think. Have you read The File? Like, I was like, holy he kind of sounds like when Gyllenhaal played Mysterio, like he played a villain in Spider-Man movies. Like and I think, was it Donnie Darko? He kind of played like a weirdo. Like I think this kid kind of channeled a little bit of Gyllenhaal, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah,
but he's a good actor, so we'll see.
I sent George a picture of the Joker from the Long Halloween comic so he can get an idea of what one of the visual references is for the character, because the teeth on the makeup of the deleted scene, I think to a newcomer might be a little like, oh, what the hell am I looking at? And so it's an interesting thing that they're trying. One of the reasons I'm, and I think you've made a very good point that once you see this scene, it kind of does change your perspective on how important Danno is as the Riddler, because you're thinking so much about what they're going to do with the Joker.
Right.
But I got the impression from the way it's cut in the final movie that they're still not sure what they're going to do with the makeup. Like, they really very, very lightly hinted what he's going to look at. And it strikes me as like, we know we want to do something, but we don't quite know what we're going to do. And so maybe the deleted scene is just a little too much of the face before they're willing to commit to how they're going to design the Joker.
Yeah. Well, I think Matt Reeves said this is not the Joker yet. So he said this is not the final look. This is not who he is yet. He's not the Clown Prince. He's not, who he becomes. So to see him in this stage, it makes sense that he might be the Leatherface Joker from the comics, because it seems like that is an uncomfortable face to have, and he might wind up peeling it off. So
see, and that's a comic arc that I just never got into. So I'm gonna have to learn, just like the Court of Owls stuff. Like, I was just, I already had my set in my ways idea about the characters when those things came along. So interested to see if I can buy into it.
it's definitely a good way to redo the character and totally go away from what's already been established. I mean,
Indeed.
someone's like saying, "Oh, it's year 2 Joker. He should look like basically a playboy with white skin and green hair, like almost like the Alex Ross paintings, where it's almost like Nicholson in his prime." And I'm like, yeah, but that's so cosplay. Like, nobody wants to see a cosplay Joker. They want to see some I don't know, some anguish. They want to see some torture. They don't want to see him beautiful with a tuxedo on. Like, it's been done in the comics, but it doesn't transfer, especially not in this world. This world is very dark. So
No, it would be totally out of place.
Now, George, I sent you another picture. Take a look real quick. I don't know if you're familiar with The Man Who Laughs, which is the visual reference that DC used when they first released the Joker character. But this is Conrad Veidt from the 20s. And without that, without the movie from which that picture comes, you don't get the Joker in the comic books the way that you know him.
No. Mm-mm.
And so that, if I'm going early year 2, that's probably where I would have started. Like, they've gone farther than that already, and I'm interested to see how much they draw it back toward this in the next one. Speculation, though. We don't know. Are they doing another one? Wouldn't it be something if they just didn't? Just screw you guys, we're not doing another one.
I honestly want to see Matt Reeves tackle Mr. Freeze. I want to see that tragedy, that tragic story.
Don't say too much about it because I don't even know it.
Right, but it was wasted with Schwarzenegger. He has 0 range.
Yeah,
and it was just not done right. That character alone is heavy enough to have his own movie trilogy if they wanted to do it. So I don't know.
I love it. I love
we're fans. I'm probably going to see it one more time.
I'll probably go see it again before it hits HBO Max. But try to find the best theater with the biggest screen and the loudest sound system, because this movie is like a demo for the quality of the equipment.
Yeah.
By the way, if they do a Mr. Freeze, I want them to make it like a cartoonish, like Richard Kuklinski.
Who's
like
Richard Kuklinski?
He's an old mafia hitman known as the Iceman.
Oh,
Look him up.
Yeah,
Super interesting.
Yeah.
There's my Mr. Freeze, if we have to have a Mr. Freeze. I really liked the Mr. Freeze of the TV show. The first one. The first appearance. The old 60s show.
Oh, God.
When he steals the diamonds and burns the curtains. Like, I always thought he was efficiently cool.
I'm going to say something very controversial. There's nothing good about the 66 show.
Oh, see, that is just no.
It's nostalgic, but I mean, it's not good. It's
Oh,
great,
dude.
but it's not good. If that makes sense. It's like saying Pee Wee Herman movies are Oscar award winning. No, they're not. They're fun, but they're not. They're not any yardstick to be used to measure other things.
I asked a coworker
That's the way
the
I
other
look at
day if they visited the basement because they went to the Alamo.
Mm.
They didn't get the joke, but it was in like a group chat with all my coworkers, so nobody got the joke. And then I looked like a weirdo referencing Pee Wee movies at work, but
Yeah.
whatever.
You
fine.
can't reference Pee Wee's Big Adventure today. No one knows. We will. George will.
Oh,
At one
but
point.
he will. Sometime.
I can't wait for that.
Oh my god. I'm trying to use the phone. Oh god.
Oh man. So guys, the Batman. You've been to a movie
What are we
theater,
watching next
George.
week?
You saw a movie at a movie theater. Would you do it again? Would you recommend it?
This movie?
Any movie in a movie theater.
Sure.
And would you
I think,
recommend
what, we
people
were, like,
see the
one of
Batman
15
before
people in
it
the
comes
whole
out
thing.
on streaming real quick?
Would I recommend seeing the Batman on the big screen?
Hell yeah, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, in a theater with a very strong sound system.
Mm. What didn't you like about the Alfred? I forgot to ask you that. Is he just not he was just undeveloped or
He's
underdeveloped?
I think he was what's the British actor's name from the Nolan?
Michael
Oh,
Caine.
Michael Caine.
Yeah, he's
can't
not
compare him to
he's not
Michael
Michael
Caine.
Caine. That's my
Yeah.
problem.
Well, but
You're
Jeffrey
no
Wright
Sharon
isn't Gary
Stone.
Oldman, but he's still an awesome Gordon. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I just when I saw him, and I thought he looks young.
Well, they're all young. This is like 19 to 22-year-old Bruce Wayne.
okay, but okay, it's fine. I just like my Alfred to
mean-
be a little bit older and a little bit more proper.
And all about those tangerines.
Now, that's the guy who plays King Kong, by the way. You know that, right?
Who?
The guy who plays Alfred. That's Andy Serkis. He's the mocap for all the apes in Planet of the Apes movies. King Kong,
Ah.
Gollum.
Yeah, the Preciouses.
Oh yeah.
He's the precious guy. He's
yes.
We've actually talked
Yes.
about him on the show before.
he's
And how
Claw
good he is.
in
Mhm.
Black Panther. He's now in the DC universe
Mhm.
as Alfred. He works a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think
He's
there
got a
was
good agent.
necessarily anything, bad about him. I just thought
I thought he was
looks-
underdeveloped.
He looks pretty young, and he's not Michael Caine. So
Well, maybe he'll be Michael Caine in the next one.
Oh, that just sparked it.
doubtful.
Dan, did you see the little 1966 Easter egg in this movie?
Well, the fact that there's an Aunt Harriet running around in the house
Aunt
definitely
Harriet?
gave me a 66 vibe. What did you see that I have
Right
forgotten?
before Alfred blows up. Spoiler alert. There is a Shakespearean bust.
Oh
to his left-
yeah,
to
the
his left.
Shakespeare bust is in the office,
Yeah.
the one that used to trigger the door.
Yeah.
I did see that. So good.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit!"
So good.
Is there a red phone? Where's the red phone? I was hoping the phone was red when it rang,
Oh, I know.
but it wasn't.
But excellent use of timelines in that scene. We don't have to talk about why, because people who haven't seen it and made it this far might want one thing unspoiled.
Right.
But really well done scene.
Yes.
Hell of a movie, guys. I think it's the best Batman character we've seen in a movie yet. I don't know if the
And it-
movie's the best movie. People are going to argue for Dark Knight and 89 to still be their favorite and maybe the best for different reasons. But the acting of Pattinson as Batman is the most advanced mask acting we've seen yet.
I think all around voice, everything. I don't know if he's better than Conroy, but I think he's up there.
Well, he's got 30 more years to develop the character
Right.
before we can compare.
Sounds good.
All right, so next up, we've already recorded it, so no surprises to George. We will be covering The Fly with a returning guest. Richard Oliver from the Chasing Tone podcast is going to join us for some 80s body horror. Ooh,
very,
gross.
very entertaining episode. If I do say so myself.
He kept saying why haven't you guys done Cronenberg yet? We're like, well, we'll do The Fly and you can come on.
So yeah, if you haven't seen that, it's on Prime. Guys, go watch The Fly before that episode. Watch it twice, because the first time you might feel nauseous through the whole movie.
The 80s one. Not the 50s.
The 80s
Jeff Goldblum version, or the Nicolas Cage version. I think
the Nicolas Cage version.
Nicolas Cage version, as George would say. Which he's completely wrong.
Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can find us at Twitter and Instagram at remedialfilmpod. We'll be back next week with the 1986 gross out classic, The Fly.
We're sitting watching the trailers, and there's a friggin' movie that comes on, and it's starring Nicolas Cage.
Oh, hilarious.
And I can basically hear George rolling his eyes.
Nicolas Cage
But the premise
plays
is
Nicolas Cage
plays Nicolas Cage. And he's like, becomes friends with a guy who ends up being like this big, huge drug lord. And the FBI employs Nicolas Cage to pretend to be friends with this guy so that they can infiltrate.
I'm exhausted already
just
hearing this.
Okay, so
concept.
check it out. He goes, we watched this, I don't know, what is it, an 8-minute preview or so, and the thing ends, and it's like, boom, and I like just turned to Travis, and I was like, I will not be watching that.
And I'm like, I totally want to see that.
We're going to have you watch a Nicolas Cage movie at some point, George, and we're going to pick just the perfect one, and you're going to be like, oh, this guy's actually, like, okay. All right, and then all the rest of them are not.
Like I quit.
No, I'm not. I will never like Nicolas Cage.
Man.
Well, have you given one or maybe two chances, depending?
We have a couple.
How many chances have I given him
on our show?
What have you seen with Nicolas Cage?
Is that your question? I've seen 4 Nick Cage movies.
What ones?
So the next 2 that you're gonna see will define if you give him a second chance.
I've seen Face Off.
Okay. It's bad. It's terrible.
I've seen 2 National Treasure movies.
Ew.
Okay.
And,
They're fun, but they're not good. First one's good. Please. Was it The Rock?
The Rock? No.
Okay, good.
I'm trying to think. Maybe it's just 3. I'm sure I've seen him in more
You've never
movies.
seen Kick-Ass, right?
No.
Okay. You ever seen Honeymoon in Vegas?
No.
What about
Leaving Las Vegas?
Leaving Las Vegas, which is really good.
Maybe we
No.
can find a movie from early in his career when he makes like a cameo appearance, and we can watch that movie, and George won't even know he's in it.
Hey, bud, let's party. That one? Ha. Yeah, we'll make sure that you get a little bit of cagey.
It's okay to get a little cagey.
Little cagey. We'll
It
pick them.
makes my
We'll pick them right.
Skin crawl.
Yeah. Apparently, The Fly makes Dan's skin crawl.
That movie's gross, dude. I hadn't seen it before. It's gross. Enjoy our episode next week, dudes. Ugh.
Well, we don't show anything.
No, but it's implied.
Yes.
All right, so next week is the episode with Richard, right?
Yes.
So I'm at band practice tonight, and we have our like in-ear set up, and we're like this is the second time we've ever like played to a click, right? Which is difficult at sometimes. But before the song starts, when the click like starts, you can have whatever sound you want, but Anthony, my lead guitar player who does all the Logic stuff, chose the voice of like a British man going 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the click starts, right?
Right.
And so we just kept calling him the Brit. So like we'd start playing and we'd mess up, and it's like, all right, we got to start over. It's like, all right, give me the Brit. And like, he starts the song over again, right? And so we're like, what should we name him? Like, he should have a name. And so his name is now Richard.
Does he say garage?
He says garage.
Garage.
I mean, if that's not fandom, I don't know what is.